Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to be finally going through an entire bunch of games here that I got several weeks ago from a pawn shop. Now, part of the reason why it took so long was simply me procrastinating, but also partly because I actually had to return a couple games because they weren't working. Specifically Tony Hawk Proving Grounds on Wii, which unfortunately was too scratched up, as well as Battlefield 1942 Anthology, which would not work on my Windows 10 PC. Um, there are workarounds to get it to work, but I didn't want to bother. I just wanted to return it and exchange it for something else. But with that said, let's actually go through the games I got. Now, the pawn shop itself, um, obviously not the best most attractive place, but they had games there. A lot of which were sports games, of course, which I'm actually surprised by, considering they have such low value. But I guess the person who owns it just didn't know and decided to accept it anyways. In any case, he did have a bunch of games that were actually pretty good, as you can see here, and I ended up picking some of them. Now, unfortunately, some of them were in pretty poor condition, all things considered, including the ones that I returned. So it is, but ultimately, it is what it is, and I got all these for $40, which is a pretty good deal, relatively speaking. So let's actually go through the games. First off, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition for the Nintendo Wii. This came out back in 2009, the same time that Modern Warfare 2 had come out. So unfortunately, we did not get the second Modern Warfare game, but we did get the first one with motion controls, of course. I don't, as far as I can tell, you cannot use anything but the motion controls. So if you don't like the motion controls, well, unfortunately, this version is not for you, especially since this game also is technically the worst version to get. It looks the worst, it runs the worst, and I guess and depending on the player you are, it controls the worst. But I just bought it because, hey, it's Call of Duty on Wii. This was a much different time in gaming when they actually managed to cram an entire AAA 7th gen game onto something that was basically just an overpowered GameCube. Now, I actually recall playing this like 10 years ago on my modded Wii, but now I actually have a physical copy, an actual legit copy of it in my collection. So, yeah. Next up, I got this. Okay, well, this is, yeah, obviously this is not the original case. It's actually a case for James Bond's Legends for PS3. But whatever. Yeah, it has two games. Yeah, it has two games shoved in it. The first one being Cabela's Outdoor Adventure, published by Activision for PlayStation 2, and oh yeah, it also has a lot of scratches on it, but thankfully it works. Next up we have, this one is actually the one I cared about, Final Fantasy XII Collector's Edition. Now the Collector's Edition part doesn't really matter. It's basically just the same thing as the regular version of the game. It's just that this disc apparently came in like a steelbook or something like that. I could have just bought the remastered version on modern platforms, but hey, considering, like I said, $40 for all of. Actually, no, not I. Sorry, I got, yeah. So what happened was he offered 3 for 10. So basically, I paid $3.33 for this. $3.33 for a Final Fantasy game. That's still a pretty good deal. I'll be honest though, I haven't actually played a single. I haven't actually finished any Final Fantasy games, so I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But we'll see. I definitely need to get some more cases in here because obviously, I'm one case short. For some reason there's two games in one, so. But the guy was okay. The guy at the store was okay with it for some reason. But anyways, Next up, we have Need for Speed: The Run. I've actually been trying to get as many of the Need for Speed games as I can, since they are going to become harder and harder to come by as they have been delisted. Or in the case of the Wii versions of these games, you can no longer get. They never had digital editions to begin with. It's just a physical edition. And in the case of Need for Speed: The Run, this is actually a port of the 3DS version. Yeah, quite a number of games that were released on both 3DS and Wii were developed with the 3DS in mind and then ported over to the Wii, which is interesting because this game, um, from what I heard, isn't not only is it not that great, but it definitely feels like a handheld game that was ported to consoles. But I still got it anyways. Hopefully, I can get an actual Wii case at some point. But oh well. Next up, we have. Okay, this one was a bit. This one I was a bit of a surprise. I got Disney Infinity 3.0. Now, I'll be honest. I haven't touched a single. I haven't actually. I never experienced Disney Infinity in its prime. I only care about it now because I see a lot of the figures from time to time being sold for a fraction of what they were going for originally. I could have honestly just got the PC version, which has which doesn't require any of the portals or figures. But I, I already bought the first game on PS3. I got the second game on Wii U, and now I'm going back to PS3. So, hey, might as well. Hey, I already got the first two games on console. Might as well get the third one, right? Plus, it's only $5. When's the next time I can get this game for $5? I was actually a bit surprised to see this there. I mean, you would think that this game. Okay, well, to be fair, the game itself is actually pretty cheap. It's the figures that are hard to get. But yeah, for basically $3 and the equivalent of like I don't know, coffee and donut nowadays or whatever. Uh, you know, you really can't go wrong with this. And plus the bases, the power bases or whatever you call them, they're forward compatible, so I can use like Disney Infinity 1.0 portal pads on like the newer games, so that's good. Now, interestingly enough, I thought this game would be very successful because of its attachment to the Star Wars license. They heavily advertised this with the Star Wars figures, and this was around the time that The Force Awakens was coming out, so I thought it would do very well, but unfortunately it did not do well enough to warrant keeping Avalanche Software, because in early 2016, Disney shut down Avalanche Software. Now, interestingly enough, they actually reopened about a year later and developed Cars 3 Driven to Win, which is based on the Cars 3 movie. But what's interesting is that they based the racetracks on that game. The entire gameplay of Cars 3 is based on the racing portions in Disney Infinity, which is interesting. So they basically recycled portions of a previous game for a licensed game. That's interesting. But yeah, that's enough of Disney Infinity. Next up, we have a sealed copy of UFC Undisputed 2010 by THQ before they went bankrupt. Extra features only on PlayStation 3. Exclusive fighters, exclusive gameplay, plus 5 of the greatest fights in UFC history on Blu-ray. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about UFC at all. And also, for some reason, it also has this sticker on it for $7.99. I don't know what that's about. I don't know. Maybe somebody stole it or something, or bought it initially and decided to trade it or whatever. I really don't know. All I know is I just found this sealed inside the pawn shop, and I bought it because it was cheap. I don't even know if the exclusive content is on a code. I am curious if it is. I'll probably do a separate unboxing on this game afterwards, but for now I'm keeping it sealed. And speaking of fighting games, I got Fight Night Round 3 on the original Xbox. This is one of the two games that I exchanged for, as the previous two games were not working. This one is actually backwards compatible on Xbox 360, which is neat. So I don't have to buy an original Xbox to experience it. Yeah, you have Muhammad Ali in this with a bunch of other fighters that I honestly don't know about. It's pretty obvious that this case has seen better days. Oof, yeah, it's like it looks like it suffered some sort of water damage, and not only that, but the manual doesn't even fit. So this is the French manual, and unfortunately, it doesn't actually fit inside. Uh, so in Canada, sometimes what they do is they have a sealed copy with like the French copy just sticking out the back of it because it couldn't actually fit inside the case. So inside the case, you actually have the English copy, but it's actually smaller, and the French instruction manual doesn't actually fit. See, doesn't fit. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I'll probably just stick it. Yeah, I'll probably just stick it through the back, but I can do that later. But yeah, that's Fight Night round 3. I'm not sure if they're gonna bring this franchise back. Apparently, there are a lot of issues with bringing it back. There's a lot of licensing issues, so probably why they gave up on bringing back. Probably the reason why fighting games in general just aren't that popular. I mean, I'm sure they have the audience, but you get what I mean. It's not like FIFA where they sell tens of millions every year or whatever. Next up, this is the second game that I exchanged for. Sorry, the case itself is actually belongs to another game, specifically MLB. It looks like 2K. Yeah, 2K9. Yeah, this is originally a case for MLB 2K9. That's why you see the sticker here. But the game in question, that's actually inside, is Devil May Cry 4. Uh, the original Devil May Cry 4. That is not the special edition released on 8th gen platforms. So yeah, this unfortunately doesn't have some of the things in the 8th gen edition, but that's okay with me. I mean, hey, you can actually get. I was actually going to get this through the sale on the Xbox 360 that they're having since the store is shutting down at the end of the month. But seeing as this was at the pawn shop, I might as well just pick it up, um, so that I don't end up having to use any more of my money. But yeah, Devil May Cry 4. Uh, I've tried this a little bit. I think through Game Pass. I've also watched some Call Me Johnny's review on it. I think he says it's a good game, from what I've heard anyway, if I recall correctly. But I'm aware that Devil May Cry 3 is like considered the best of the original trilogy. I'm not sure about this one, and I know like Devil May Cry 5 is like considered the absolute best nowadays. But to my understanding, they pulled they pulled a Metal Gear Solid 2 with this by having a different protagonist, but apparently it worked out. Though it's interesting that they made this game in 2008, and then they made a sequel to it over 10 years later, and it ended up being better. That is very difficult to pull off, and which really goes to show how talented the people behind the scenes were. I mean, it really is. Like imagine being put on to a franchise, especially as a new employee, and having to live up to previous expectations, while also just making a generally good game. That takes a lot of effort, and I applaud them for that. Devil May Cry 5, that is. Next up, okay, this one is in really rough shape, like really rough. Case is broken, it's water damaged, but hey, the disc still works, thankfully. So this is Xbox Live Arcade Unplugged. Includes games like Geometry Wars Retro Evolved and Bejeweled 2. It says not for resale, but whatever. Also comes with free month of Xbox Live Gold, which is now Xbox Game Pass Core. Yeah, you got quite a number of games in here. Yeah, and this disc is backwards compatible. I believe most, if not all, the games on this are playable on the Xbox One and Series console, which is nice. You don't get like the. So what happens is when you insert this into an Xbox One, it actually prompts you to download all 5 or 6 games individually. It does not. You can't actually load up the exclusive like menu there isn't like a way to load up the in-game menu. You have to actually it just downloads all 5 or 6 games, or whichever one's backwards compatible onto your system, and that's it. If you insert this into an actual Xbox 360, it actually brings up its a menu that allows you to pick and choose between all the games. So yeah, this is definitely definitely representative of a much different time in Microsoft's history, which is rather unfortunate. And it's rather unfortunate how things have changed. Not necessarily some, mostly. I would argue mostly in some ways the worse. I guess definitely a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of fans miss with the old with with the days of Xbox 360. But that's a completely different topic. Next up, we have Grand Theft Auto 4. Yeah, this is not the complete edition, which is what I was kind of hoping for. But hey, for $3, $3.33, whatever. It's still a great deal, and even comes with the map too. That's nice. The game's in the console right now, so that's why it's not here. But yeah, remember when they actually gave you maps for games? That was awesome. Now, it goes without saying, you'll notice with a lot of the Grand Theft Auto games, the original versions tend to be better in a lot of the times, and this is because of with newer releases, they have to remove certain songs because of the expiring licenses. So I think in Grand Theft Auto 4, when you play it on Xbox 360, you get all the songs on the disc. But when you play it on an Xbox One, you don't have access to all the songs because of licensing issues, which is rather unfortunate because, the songs are literally on the disc. It's just that you can't, but because of how backwards compatibility works, you can't actually use all the songs. And not only that, but because of how it, not only that, but if you have the complete edition, I think it's just like, I think for the Xbox 360 version, they just slapped together the regular Grand Theft Auto 4 disc and the episodes from Liberty City disc together, or into one package, and that called it a day. Whereas the PS3 version actually got everything onto one Blu-ray disc, which was nice. Which allows you to play the songs from the main game in the episodes from Liberty City portion of the game. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you're gonna play Grand Theft Auto 4 in its complete version, I guess the PS3 version is the PS3 complete edition is the best version to get on consoles. From a content perspective, from a technical standpoint, I guess the Xbox 360 playing the Xbox 360 version through backwards compatibility, or I guess playing the PC version completely modded is also the best way as well. But I wouldn't know. I haven't played enough Grand Theft Auto. Okay, next up we have Marvel's Ultimate Alliance. Now this game is interesting because it actually got ported to 8th gen consoles. Almost 10 years ago now, actually. And they even made a third game Switch exclusive, which was nice. So this was made during a time when Activision had the license to Marvel content, I think. And so they made this Ultimate Alliance 2, and then the third game was somebody else completely. But yeah, I got it now. It's been delisted, so the only way to play this on Xbox 360 now is a physical copy. So, and I have that physical copy now, which is great. Next up, we have... Actually, you know what? Let's actually start off with this one. Wii Fit Plus. This is an expanded version of Wii Fit. I never actually got into the Wii Fit craze. I very much had a Wii, but I never had Wii Fit. It was too expensive back then. And yet here we are in the present, and you can literally buy dozens of these for the same price as one back when it was very popular. I believe it was like $100 back then. Now you can literally get like probably 10 of these for one back then, which is interesting. Yeah, I just got this just for the sake of having it in my Wii collection, in my collection of Wii branded games, Wii Fit, Wii Music, and all that stuff. I'll eventually get a Wii balance board at some point, but for now, this is staying on my shelf. And finally, we have the very last Star Wars. Sorry, we have our very last game being a Star Wars game, specifically Star Wars: The Force Unleashed on PlayStation 2. Now, much like, yeah, unfortunately, the case is not in very good condition. Sadly, it's in rough shape. But hey, it's The Force Unleashed on PS2, and depending on who you ask, the PS2 version, PS2/Wii/PSP version is the better version. Yeah, this is one of those games where it was released across multiple generations of consoles, and like I said, the PS2, Wii, and PSP versions are very similar, with the PSP version having the most content, and then the Wii version, of course, you had motion controls, and then the PS2 version had just traditional controls. Yeah, and this is actually the version, or the Wii version, sorry, that got ported to the Switch recently. But yeah, considering it was, again, very cheap, I decided to just pick this up anyways. So yeah, now I have Force Unleashed on PS2, which is neat. Especially since this was a late PS2 release. This came out in 2008. That's 2 years after the PS3 came out. And fast forward to today, and we still get like games for PS4 and Xbox One in the year we're getting Black Ops 6 like 4 years after the launch of the PS5 and Xbox Series console, which is insane to think about. But with the Force Unleashed, this was completely different. So the PS3 and Xbox 360, PS3, Xbox 360, and I think, the PC version were completely different from the Wii, PS2, and PSP version. And then we also had the DS version, which was completely different as well from all the other versions. But ultimately, the PSP version is the best version of the version developed by this studio, Chrome. But ultimately, it's the Wii version that is available on the Switch. I am curious as to whether they're going to port that Switch this version to other platforms, though, or even port the HD version of the game, the original HD version of the game, or flagship edition, sorry, to modern platforms. It is backwards compatible, the 360 version that is, on Xbox One and Series, but when it comes to PlayStation owners, well, you're kind of out of luck as far as I can tell. But we'll see. Maybe they'll bring over the PSP version of this title over, but especially with PS Plus Premium, but who knows. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. I think I've gone on long enough, 23 minutes, talking about a bunch of games that I got from a pawn shop. But what can I say? I really like to talk about what I got here, or like to talk about when I like to talk when I get a good deal. And for all of this, I got this for $40. So 3 for 10. I got more than a dozen games here, 13 to be precise, because one of the cases had 2 games in it. But yeah, tell me, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Like and subscribe as always, and I will see you next time.